Hi, I'm Steve Maher, the Ergonomics guy, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about choosing a keyboard. And there's all sorts of different styles and makes of keyboards, and the key here is to find one that's comfortable for you. And what you want to do is make sure that your wrist stays in a good neutral position when you're typing. So you don't want to have a narrow keyboard where it forces your thumbs together, because that brings your elbows in and your shoulders up. And you don't want it so wide that you're reaching around a barrel trying to type. So the keyboard should keep your wrist in a nice straight position with your shoulders relaxed and your elbows at your side. So this is a standard keyboard. This is pretty much what you would get when you buy your computer. It's got the character keys here, number pad over here, and that works for most people. So when you're typing, your wrists are pretty straight, and you're not being forced into ulnar deviation. This is your ulna, so you're not twisting your wrists into this position. If you're a little bit wider or want something bigger, there's sort of a progression that we go through. This keyboard is actually called a comfort keyboard, and I don't know if you can see, but the keys kind of radiate out slightly from the center. So they're kind of they're little parallelograms there. And what that does is it gives you the standard footprint with a little bit of shape to it. So it's a little bit wider, and it keeps my hands in a slightly more neutral position. If you need something a little bit wider, then we move into something like the natural keyboard. Okay, and this is the keyboard that most people think about when they think about an ergonomic keyboard. And what they've done is they split the two halves of the character keys with this little thing in the middle, so that when you're working, everything is much closer. Everything is in a more neutral position. So when you're working, right, you're reaching in from the side, and the keyboard matches the position of your wrist, so your wrist stays in a really neutral position. The thing about this keyboard is it does have the number pad here, which makes it a little bit wider. So we see a lot of people that are typing like this, but then reaching way over here to get to the mouse. And so what they've done is they've created the Sculpt keyboard. It's the next one down the line. And it's the same as the natural, just like that, but what they've done is taken off the number pad. And so by getting rid of the number pad, they keep your wrist in a good neutral position when you're typing and allow you to bring the mouse in much closer. So you're not reaching all the time for the mouse. You're not reaching over these flyover states or the flyover keys that you don't always use. So if you're not using them, you can get rid of them, and that brings things closer. Then what they do is they have an external number pad that you can use. So if you do need to use the numbers, that's great. You put them right here when you're using them, and your mouse is over here. When you're not using them, get them out of the way. Bring the mouse in closer so you're not reaching. These keyboards come with a negative tilt bar, which is this thing right here. And what it does, it just snaps into the base of the keyboard to give it a downward tilt. So the idea is you don't want to be extending or flexing your wrist when you're typing. So as long as the keyboard is below the level of your elbow, you can use this little bar to give it that downward tilt. If you're typing straight on or reaching up a little bit, so if you're down here, that puts your wrists in a really awkward position. So you just pop this off, either the natural or the Sculpt, and that allows it to sit flat. Okay? Now, if that curve fits you, that's great, but for a lot of people, that's just too narrow. So they do have different styles of keyboard. This one's called a Gold Touch. And the difference here is it has this lever here on the side. And what that lever does is it allows you to change the angles of the keyboard. It's a little stiff there. But we can change the angle, the width, and the tenting so that we can position it so that it keeps your hands in a real neutral position. Again, it has an external number pad that you can get with it so that you can use the numbers. It actually has a number pad embedded here, but the idea is you can bring the mouse in really close and your hands are in a really neutral position, and you can put it to where you need it. It's not the manufacturer that determines that angle, it's you. There are variations on that. I have a whole pile there. This is a Kinesis. This is an Advantage keyboard by Kinesis, and what they've done is they separated the two halves. And what that allows you to do is basically keep your shoulders in a very neutral position. So if I could type with this thing, I would be like this. So I would be in a position where my shoulders are relaxed, my hands are separated so that I'm not reaching inward all the time, and my mouse could sit here, or I could use a roller bar here, But the idea is it's spread things out a little bit so I'm not reaching in so much. So that's sort of the progression. Usually we start with a standard keyboard. If that's too wide, we'll think about a keyboard without a number pad. If that doesn't work, we'll think about maybe the comfort keyboard with a little bit of an angle. Then we'll think about maybe the sculpt or the natural to get it a little bit wider, change those angles. Then we'll think about a gold touch or a kinesis to really spread things apart, to keep you in a really good neutral position when you're typing. So for more information about which keyboard would work for you the best and how to use that comfortably in your workstation, please contact us at sitesolutions@hotmail.com or check out our website, theergonomicsguide.com. Thank you.